Welcome to Get in the Mix. In today's isolation session, we're going to be doing an honest DJ's review of the brand new Mixtrack Platinum effects. And of course, part and parcel when reviewing that, we will essentially be reviewing the Mixtrack Pro effects as well, as they're very similar units. In the starting part of this video, we will go over the main features of the unit, what I think works well, what I don't think works quite so well, and why these units are such game changers. And then I think we'll take the units for a spin, have a little mix, and see what they can do. So let's dive right in. Here she is in all her glory. Now the first thing that I noticed right off the bat compared to some of the other Numark Mixtrack Pros that we've had throughout the years is that instantly the feel of this unit is much more pro. Now, despite having the word pro in that name for a long time, I've not really considered the Mixtrack Pro a pro controller for a while. I've always considered it a bit of a beginner's, entry level, probably won't be touring on it, probably won't be taking it out to gigs, although plenty of people do. But there was something about the old controllers that I wasn't super keen on. They didn't feel that great. They had a bit of a cheaper feel to them than some of the other entry-level controllers at around the same price point. But this one goes above and beyond everything I expect from an entry-level controller. From the platters and the jog wheels, that feel particularly weighted, particularly nice. Really the only thing I could fault them for is they're a little bit loose, but they've got a real nice weight to them and a much better weight than any other entry-level controller in the same price category. The hot cue buttons are no longer just classic clicky buttons. They are really nice rubber hot cues, perfect for bashing around, having a little drum out. The pitch faders, they feel phenomenal. Now these feel like they've been lifted from one of In Music family's other products. Now I think you first kind of have to establish that Numark these days is not owned by just Numark, it's owned by In Music, a larger company that owns a variety of brands. And I think you can really tell that they've kind of pulled together various different aspects of different models of different brands to kind of bring the best of their brands to this controller. And one of the things they've done, these pitch faders really feel like they've been taken from the Denon Prime Player series, you know, so the SC5000, the SC6000, except for the fact that the knob is a little bit smaller and rubber, they feel really nice. They've got a real nice resistance to them, which is similar to that of a turntable. You know, one thing I'll fault Pioneer for is that actually the pitch faders on, for instance, the CDJs are very loose. They're not, you know, you don't get much resistance there. Whereas these, you've got a real nice level of resistance, and they feel really nice for adjusting it. The major difference between the Mixtrack Platinum and the Mixtrack Pro, there's two major differences. The first is these beautiful little screens that you can see. Now, I think these screens are really, really handy because do you know what, there's one thing that I hate, and that's staring at a laptop screen in the middle of a gig. I like to try and stay away from what we call the box, keep out of the box a little bit, and keep on focused on my controller, my hardware, and the crowd. I want to put my energy into reading the crowd and what they're doing and what energy they're vibing on, rather than reading a computer screen, reading tracks and text and keys and whatnot off a screen. I don't want to be staring at that. So this is a really great visual point. We've got a BPM display there, we've got the time remaining, we've got a needle marker that moves around with the platter, we've got our percentage range set, so the range of which our tempo fader will change the pitch, and of course the amount that we have actually affected that pitch, so in this case is 0.7% off. Oh, and finally a little bit of key information there, and just to tell us whether the key is locked or not. Hey, now apart from this little screen, the only other major difference between this and the Mixtrack Pro is that this doubles up as a 4-deck system. So by simply holding shift and deck select, you can change this deck to a new deck, and therefore, who knows, and therefore start doing some kind of 3-deck and 4-deck mixing. Now the only downfall to this system is that of course your channel system 1 and 2 then doubles up as 3 and 4. So if I've got a track playing on channel 1, then when I switch this deck to deck 3, this now becomes deck 3. I might have to make some changes, recenter my EQ, which can get a little bit confusing, but a really nice, handy, easy way to get a 4-deck system running without taking up too much space and without, in all honesty, charging you for those extra things that they would have to physically put in to have another channel. You know, the extra crossfaders, the extra dials, the extra filter knobs, all of it would need extra stuff, and this keeps the cost down. What else has changed? Now the faders, again, these up faders feel really nice, very similar to the way that these feel, a little bit less resistance, but still quite nice. And the crossfader, really loose, a little bit too loose maybe, but perfect for your scratching, your cutting, your scratching, your chirps, all that lark. We've got it all. It's really nice for cutting in there and really good. One of my favorite features of these new units, and again, something they've introduced from another one of their products, is of course these flappy effects paddles, which you can flick up to hold or hold down to temporarily engage an effect. Now your effects are of course selected just above here, and although we've got them written there, high pass filter, low pass filter, flanger, phaser, reverb and echo, you do actually get a nice option inside of Serato to actually change those effect settings as you go. So you can choose what setting, which effect does what, although they've got most of the basis of what is covered inside of Serato DJ Lite, which is a free bit of software that this has been designed for. If, for instance, you upgraded to Serato DJ Pro, where you've got hundreds more effects, that's a bit loose on the amount, probably not hundreds, but a lot more effects, you can change these effects out to be whatever you like. Then of course across the top here you've got a classic dry wet effects knob, which is essentially how much of the effects is going to be applied when the paddles are enacted or engaged on a hold. And then we have a beat division here that allows us to select the beat divisions of perhaps our echo, might want a certain amount, our reverb, whatever it might be, we can select the divisions. So another major change to the Mixtrack Platinum in particular is the introduction of the filters in the classic filter position. In the last Mixtrack Platinum, we had the filters up here, which just felt a little bit unusual and a little bit out of place. And of course we had our standard freeband EQ and our trim. But on the Mixtrack Pro, so the other version, the version that's very similar to this, it was completely missing the trim. A lot of entry-level DJs, that didn't affect because they don't know what it is, didn't know that they needed it. But the ability to even out the volume of your track, so let's just, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure lots of you will as DJs, but your trim is like an input gain for your track. So if I've got a track playing, but my trim is turned all the way down, I can have this fader as high as I like, I'm not going to hear a thing until I start boosting the input level for my track. Now, the reason we have these is that music naturally plays at different volumes and different levels. A track from the 1960s is going to be much quieter than a overly compressed dubstep track from today. I want to know that when I pull my volume faders out to the top there, that songs are going to be the same level. I don't want to be mixing one really loud song into a really quiet song and then my crowd suddenly be like, oh, where's it gone? It was all really quiet, now I can talk to my buddy fine. I don't have to go to the smoking area for a chat. That's what our trim is for. It allows us to, if this one is an extra quieter track, then I can turn it up and we can bring it in at the same volumes as our loud track. And the fact that that was missing off the Mixtrack Pro 3 was a real downturn for me, and I mean real, because I feel like you could not do a professional gig without that feature. But on both the Platinum and the Mixtrack Pro 3, they have introduced and provided a classic trim level at the top of both channels, which for me, as I said, big game changer. One gripe I will give it is that these cue and play buttons, they're a bit stiff, just a bit. I mean, you've got to give it a good old hit to let it play, which is far from like the kind of, you know, the tactileness of a Pioneer cue and play button on a CDJ. But, and there is a big but, it's an entry-level controller, so you really can't complain. And having to just give it a little bit extra whack really isn't the end of the world. And my only other gripe, I think, thinking about it, you know, this is a real off-the-cuff little review, but my only other gripe is that the VU meter there, I don't know if you can see that there, it's red. It's always red. Now, I like green, yellow and red. I want to know that here's my in the green, oh, we've gone into the yellow, oh, we've gone into the red, turn it down. I want that visualization. You're not getting any of that here. You're always in the red. Don't matter how low you are, You're always in the red, just how much red. Which doesn't give me a clear indication of when I'm hitting 0. But apart from that, this controller has absolutely everything that any starter DJ kind of entry-level controller user might need. And in fact, I think whereas the Mixtrack Pro 3, I wouldn't have really recommended it for touring. When I say touring, I mean gigging, you know, mobile DJ, discos, weddings, that kind of thing. It wasn't really high up my list of recommendations, but this one will be sitting firmly at the top. I think at this price point and the durability, quality, the weight, the feel of the platters, the way that pitch faders go, for me, this hits all the points. And of course, if you've got your classic hot cue, auto loop, fader cuts and samples, I think if I was gonna try and find one more, and I'm really nitpicking here, I'm really trying to find one more thing that I wasn't super keen about, was that the buttons aren't touch buttons. They are still push buttons. They might not have a click, they don't have that dreaded click that we all hate, but they do have, there is a bit of give to them. You've got to push them to get them, which is fine. Again, it means you've just got to give them a good old hit. You can't be light when you're playing. They're not touch responsive, which isn't ideal for playing your drums. I feel like they could have potentially drawn some of these pads from like one of their many kind of drum machines, or one of the Akai devices that they have. Again, the people that own Numark own Akai. I feel like they've fallen just a little bit short on there, but in all honesty, again, at the price point, you're finding nothing better and absolutely phenomenal value. So I think all that's left to do is to take her for a spin and just check out some of the effects and how she works. So I hope you've enjoyed today's honest review and can use this as a guide to, whether this would be the product that you go for, whether this is on your next purchase, whether it's suited and matched for you. Now, we took it for a spin. You saw how easy it was to get some great mixes on the go. And I know you can't tell a lot from the video, but the experience of mixing on this, the general feeling is great. It feels hands-on, it feels professional, it feels well done. It no longer feels like something that's more intent for a very early beginner. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's honest review and can use this as a bit of a guide to decide whether this is the product for you. I can well and truly say that the Mixtrack Pro and Platinum range are now well deserving of the names Pro and Platinum. They are one of the leading products in the entry-level category. You saw how easy it was to get some great sounds out of it. What you might not have been able to see through the camera is how the experience of mixing on it feels, and I tell you now, it feels great. Really tactile, really hands-on, really pro and professional. Overall, now one of the best entry-level controllers on the market by far. So as always, like if you like, dislike if you dislike, chuck us a comment in the comment section and be sure to subscribe and make sure to get in the mix.